Well, not anymore. There was a time that I did. I think after the second or third year, I started finally to.
Beatle Paul McCartney, the last of the group to renounce bachelorhood, was married in London this morning to Linda Eastman, an American divorcee and the mother of a 6-year-old girl. The wedding took place at the Marylebone Registry Office.
Hollywood has always tried to show itself as a world where every face is perfect, every body is shaped like a statue, and every couple looks as if they were designed by a team of artists. Studio bosses believed that beauty was a product they could sell just like movies, and they built this idea so strongly that fans around the world grew up thinking that their favorite stars lived perfect lives with perfect partners. But the truth behind the camera was always far more real and far more complicated than the public ever imagined. Many of the most handsome and admired men in Hollywood did not follow the rules the studios tried so hard to enforce. Instead of choosing wives who looked like polished movie stars, they fell in love with women who were older, softer, rounder, simpler, or simply different from the narrow ideas of beauty that dominated the industry. These love stories were rarely shared openly, because publicists feared that fans would be shocked or disappointed. Yet these marriages reveal something deeper and far more human, something about real love, real connection, and the courage of men who chose heart over surface beauty. One of the most famous examples is Marlon Brando and Movita Castaneda. At the height of his fame, Brando was considered the most attractive man in the world. His sharp features, intense eyes, confident walk, and calm voice could silence entire rooms. Directors said he had a face that the camera loved, and studio advertisements made him look almost unreal in his perfection. But Brando never cared much for the glamorous world that surrounded him. Behind the scenes, he searched for something more honest. That search led him to Movita, a performer who looked nothing like the dolls and fashion models Hollywood praised at that time. Movita was 7 years older than Brando. She had strong facial features, brown skin, and a natural, grounded presence. Her beauty was real and mature, shaped by years of dancing, traveling, and working on stage. When Brando met her at a party in 1953, she was performing a traditional dance, focused completely on her work and not at all impressed by the famous actor watching her. Many people later said that it was her calmness, her ability to see Brando as a man instead of a superstar, that first caught his attention. They began talking after her performance, and Brando found that she spoke about life with honesty and depth. She talked about the struggles of being a performer, the long hours, the low pay, and the constant travel. Her words were simple, but her voice carried strength. For Brando, who was surrounded by people who tried too hard to please him, Movita felt like a breath of fresh air. A close friend later remembered Brando saying, "With her, I feel like I can breathe easier," which may have been the most honest expression of what he was really searching for. The two began seeing each other quietly, avoiding public attention. Movita refused to appear in front of cameras with him because she did not want to become a target of gossip. Brando respected that. Their relationship grew slowly but deeply. They shared quiet dinners, long talks, and walks on Venice Beach far from the lights of Hollywood. A few paparazzi saw them together and published blurry photos, but no one had any idea they were building a serious future. In 1960, they married secretly with only a few close friends present. There were no reporters, no bright lights, no studio approval. It was just two people who wanted to build a life together. Yet the world they lived in was far from peaceful. The studio system put heavy pressure on Brando, and Movita struggled with the constant attention he received. In 1961, she became pregnant, but the pregnancy ended in heartbreaking loss. This tragedy created a distance between them that neither knew how to fix. Brando was swallowed by his work, traveling constantly for film projects. Movita stayed mostly at home, avoiding the press and protecting her privacy. When Brando went to Tahiti to film Mutiny on the Bounty, rumors began to spread about him spending time with his young co-star, Tarita. Movita heard the gossip but remained silent. She did not want a public fight. The press noticed Brando sitting close to Tarita at a press conference, and his representatives refused to answer questions about his marriage. That silence confirmed the rumors for many people. By the summer of 1962, Brando and Movita had separated. When reporters asked why, Movita's friends said simply, they lived at two different speeds. It was a short explanation, but a powerful one. Their marriage was real, but the pressures of fame pulled them apart. Still, their story remains one of Hollywood's most surprising because it shows that even the most admired man in the world did not choose a partner based on appearance. He chose someone who made him feel human, and that is something no beauty standard can measure. Another story that surprised audiences in the 1960s was the marriage of Dan Blocker, the gentle giant from the hit TV show Bonanza, and his small, quiet wife, Dolphia Parker. Blocker was instantly recognizable to millions of viewers. He stood nearly 2 meters tall and weighed over 300 pounds, giving him a presence that filled every frame of a television screen. His character, Hoss Cartwright, was known for kindness, strength, and loyalty, and people often believed that Blocker was exactly the same in real life. Fans expected him to have a glamorous Hollywood partner, someone tall and polished who would look suitable standing beside him. Instead, he married Dolphia Parker, a woman who looked nothing like the tall, graceful actresses who filled magazine covers. Dolphia was small, modest, and very simple in her appearance. She rarely wore makeup, preferred plain dresses, and stayed away from the spotlight. She had no interest in fame, fashion, or Hollywood glamour. Many fans who saw pictures of the couple were shocked. Some even assumed that they were relatives rather than husband and wife because the physical difference between them was so dramatic. Blocker never cared what anyone thought. He fell in love with Dolphia long before he became a star, when they were both young and studying in Texas. She supported him through years of small acting jobs, low pay, and long travel. She believed in him when he doubted himself and stood by him when money was tight. Their love story was built on friendship and trust, not appearance. When Blocker became famous, Dolphia still refused to change. She did not want Hollywood to reshape her. She continued to dress simply, kept her natural look, and focused on raising their 4 children. She stayed home instead of attending parties, and Blocker respected her choices completely. He often said in interviews, "She is my piece," and friends described them as one of the most stable couples in the entire industry. Because she was so private, the press sometimes wrote unkind or mocking comments about her looks. But Blocker never responded with anger. Instead, he kept his home life protected and made sure the world only saw what he wanted them to see, his work, not his wife. He believed that love had nothing to do with appearance, and he lived that belief fully. Their marriage remained strong until Blocker's sudden death in 1972, which left Dolphia devastated. After his passing, she disappeared from public life completely, choosing to live quietly with her children. Today, their story remains a powerful reminder that true love does not care about external beauty. It grows from respect, loyalty, and shared dreams, qualities far more important than anything a camera can capture. Their relationship proves that even in an industry famous for shallowness, some stars placed their hearts far above Hollywood's expectations. These 2 stories are only part of a much larger truth about Hollywood's golden age. Many handsome, successful, and admired actors chose partners who did not fit the perfect patterns the studios tried so hard to create. The world often judged these wives as plain, ordinary, or unpolished, but what the world failed to understand was that these women offered something the industry could not manufacture: real connection. Many stars lived behind walls of pressure, expectation, and public attention. They were followed everywhere by cameras, watched constantly by reporters, and studied by millions of fans who believed they knew them. In such a world, finding someone who sees you as a human being, not a symbol, becomes incredibly rare and precious. That is why so many actors looked beyond the world of Hollywood beauty. They wanted safety, honesty, and comfort, not competition. Some married older women who had already lived full lives and understood responsibility. Some married women who were quiet and introverted, who did not shine in crowds but shined in private moments. Some chose partners who felt like home, someone who could make their chaotic lives feel steady. These women were not ugly. They were simply different from the fantasy image the movie studios built. Hollywood used makeup, lighting, editing, and publicity to create illusions, but real life does not look like a movie poster. These wives came from everyday backgrounds: teachers, dancers, librarians, waitresses, and artists. They brought honesty, kindness, and strength to relationships built in a world that rarely allowed space for authenticity. Behind every great star, there was often a partner who handled the stress, managed the home, raised the children, and kept life grounded. These roles were not glamorous, but they were priceless. Fans may never know how many marriages survived because the wife was strong enough to support a man who lived under constant pressure. Some people called them ordinary, but in truth, they were extraordinary. They chose love over fame, stability over attention, and privacy over praise. The modern audience can learn an important lesson from these relationships. Beauty does not guarantee happiness. Fame does not guarantee love. And appearances do not determine the value of a person. These actors saw beyond the shallow expectations of their time, choosing partners who gave them something much greater than physical perfection, partners who gave them peace, loyalty, and a safe place to be themselves. Today, when social media creates endless pressure to look perfect, these old Hollywood stories remind us that real love has always lived far away from beauty standards. It grows in quiet rooms, with gentle words, shared dreams, and mutual respect. These marriages, once hidden or ignored, now stand as proof that true connection is stronger than Hollywood's fantasy. And in the end, that is what makes these stories worth remembering. When people think of Hollywood, they usually imagine bright lights, red carpets, famous faces, and glamorous partners who look like they just stepped out of a movie poster. But behind all the shiny lights and loud headlines, there are real people with real feelings, real weaknesses, and real hopes. Many viewers believe every famous actor chooses a partner who looks like a model, someone tall, slim, elegant, and perfectly styled. But when you look closer at the personal lives of some of the biggest stars in film and music history, you find stories that break this belief completely. One of the clearest examples is the love story of Dan Blocker, the giant star from the hit TV show Bonanza, and his quiet, gentle wife, Dolphia. She was a petite woman, small in height, with a soft and peaceful face, wavy hair usually tied back, and a shy smile. People who saw her for the first time often thought she looked like a small-town teacher or a local librarian. They didn't see her as the wife of a national celebrity. And this reaction shows something bigger about society. We judge beauty too quickly, especially when it is connected to a famous man. Dan and Dolphia met long before Dan became a Hollywood name. They were both students at Hardin-Simmons University in Texas. Back then, Dan was not the big, confident actor people later knew. He was simply a big young man with a kind heart, a love for theater, and constant worries about his future. He did not know if acting would ever work out. He did not know if he would ever find a place where he felt he truly belonged. But Dolphia became that place for him. She was calm, disciplined, organized, and emotionally steady. She grounded him in a way no fame ever could. His friends used to joke that she helped Dan fit back into the world, and what they meant was that she balanced him. She gave him the stability he needed to move through life with confidence. When they married in 1952, Dan suddenly became more focused, more responsible, and more driven. When they welcomed twins in 1957, followed by 2 more children, their family became the foundation that shaped the rest of Dan's life. As Bonanza became a huge nationwide success, the media began watching Dan's personal life. Paparazzi wanted pictures not just of the actor, but of the woman behind him. When photos of Dolphia finally appeared in newspapers, the reaction from many readers was surprise. She didn't look like Hollywood wives on magazine covers. She was quiet, modest, simply dressed, and carefully private. Some publications described the couple using words like visually unmatched, ordinary wife next to a giant star, and even unexpected pair, which were not kind. But inside the Hollywood industry, people respected something greater: Dolphia's commitment to privacy and her complete refusal to use Dan's fame for attention. She never appeared on talk shows, never attended press interviews, never dressed for cameras, and never tried to become a public personality. While Dan filmed on set, she took care of everything at home: the finances, the children, the schedules, the daily routine, all with steady dedication. Their marriage had no scandals. No affairs. No dramatic rumors. It was simply a stable family life, even while Dan was working long hours under heavy pressure. Sadly, Dan passed away suddenly in 1972, leaving the Bonanza cast heartbroken. After the funeral, Dolphia quietly disappeared from public life. She chose silence, privacy, and peace. She protected her children and her husband's memory in a way that showed deep love and dignity. Even today, their marriage remains an example of strong partnership, not based on looks or public image, but on shared trust and emotional grounding. And this brings us to a bigger point: beauty standards in Hollywood are often narrow, unrealistic, and painfully unfair. Many people assume a man with fame must choose a woman who fits the public fantasy. But when you look at real couples behind the scenes, you learn that many famous men fall in love not with perfect beauty, but with someone who makes them feel safe, understood, and deeply seen. And nowhere is this more clear than in the marriage of one of the most admired musicians of all time, Paul McCartney. Paul McCartney, the world-famous member of the Beatles, was once considered one of the most handsome men in music. He had soft features, lively eyes, long hair, and a gentle smile that made millions of fans, especially young women, instantly adore him. His image was polished, charming, and internationally loved. So, when he chose to marry Linda Eastman, a woman who didn't fit the glamorous rock star partner image that fans expected, the world reacted loudly, and often cruelly. Linda was a photographer, not a model or actress. She had a natural look, blonde hair worn simply, a friendly face, a slightly uneven smile, minimal makeup, and a casual sense of style. She didn't care about chasing perfection or glamorous appearances. But for many Beatles fans, this was shocking. They imagined Paul with someone who looked like a celebrity icon. When the relationship became public, thousands of fans expressed anger. Some fans even sent harsh letters complaining that Linda wasn't worthy of him because she looked too ordinary. But the truth was deeper and more beautiful. Paul didn't choose Linda for her looks. He chose her for her honesty, her depth, and her calm presence in a life full of noise. When Linda came to photograph the Beatles in 1967, she didn't treat them like gods. She spoke to Paul like he was simply a person. She didn't flirt,